We are beset by danger at every turn. Wild wolves prey on our people, but we hunt them at all times, bringing them down, but never destroying them, much like the world and our people. We were greatly troubled with the highest of men, not so high when they came and savaged our forest, tearing down the bulk of what was our home and our capital of old, Athamor. That is bitterness of many hundreds of years of times passing, and we do not keep it. It flows through us like water through our hands. Our greatest friends were the Druidine, not the Dunedain, but we respect them and remember what it was like to have true unity, order and fealty, protection and persecution. Long we have lived upon a double-sided coin, an ironic existence, both hunted for our actions in defense of our forests and needed for the wars in the north. For we were the levy men of Cardolan. We lived with honor, fought and died for it, and we never gave in. Our history sustains us, and we will see it restored. It is what keeps us sleeping at night, albeit with one eye open, and what gives us our courage to gather around campfires and talk of better times, of the histories. Passed down through generations our histories are, and they fill us with hope and sustain lives that are desperately in need of a common cause. Perhaps there is one among us who will lead the clans to unite and take on our foes with common voice and common hand. We are a mixed people. Within our borders lie villages of fisherfolk. Deep in the woods are great bowmen and hunters, whilst in the open ground are villages of a people who battle each day to remember our past and carry on in the hope that it will be restored. Our people are also divided, and it may be that we unite by force or under the banner of one such as you, my chieftain. A great leader who can unite us and unify the scattered remnants of our people is what we need, and I feel you may be the one we have waited for. This gives me great pleasure, and it is an honor to serve you. What we lack in honed military skill, we make up for in our tenacity and honor in combat. We follow our chieftains to death, and would sustain them even beyond that. From the old ruins our people will come, from the fishing villages and from forest and plain they will all fight and die for you without question, and with considerable ferocity. It is not that we lack skill, we lack unity enough to drill our men, to bind them together and fight with discipline like other men do. Unlike the men of Dunland, we do not hold the bitterness of past histories. We use it to look forward, not to strain to see the flip side of that coin and keep hatred in our hearts. The men of ancient Cardolan are on the rise, and the foes that prey upon us had best be careful, lest they find a united cause that binds us in bands of iron and them in the shadow of death. We are ready to war with others, to take our cause and unite again, and that is enough for now, for we are the Mocháini. Long have we served as guardians of Alkfud and the clan moot itself, and now, once again, does one of our own, our chieftain Tremach, serve as the speaker of the moot. And yet, times have never been more dire. The clans of Enedwaith are now beset on all sides by foes with few friends in this world, and there are whispers of the shadow mustering its strength in the far east. Our traditional rivals for the speaker's position, the Liadan, have abandoned the clans and now crouch behind the tall walls of Londare. To the east, our warlike kin in Dunland are used as pawns by the White Wizard, and once again march against us. To the northeast, there are rumours of growing powers within the Misty Mountains. Before we can turn our attention to those threats, we must deal with matters at home, for the clans stand at a nadir. Bandits, usurpers, and traitors have overtaken the ancestral clan seats of our fellow clans, and only Alkfud is still held by the peoples of this land. As expected, the clan moot has long been in debate, with each clan arguing that their home should be reclaimed first. But finally, a decision has been made on these matters. The speaker, Tremach, shall be authorized to command the full might of the clans, and has been tasked with reclaiming all of our lands, one by one. To assist, the secretive and respected Dovshith Donaith has conveyed the approval of his order and will fight with us personally. The other chieftains cannot fight with us, as their time is consumed by managing the effects of this great turmoil upon their own clans. Many people have been displaced, and many livelihoods lie in ruin. The chieftain of the Failani, however, ever ready for battle and bloodshed, has issued us a challenge. Should we reclaim the seat of the Failani, the ancient Dunedain castle of Argond, then he will personally lead his honour guard into the field in service to Tramach. Sadly, therefore, the vast majority of the clans can only aid us indirectly for the moment, but as we construct various industries befitting each clan, then they will call forth their levies to fight. Furthermore, the reclamation of each clan's seat will allow us to call upon the support of the elders of the clans, as their stores of arms and armour are returned to them, and housed in bespoke muster grounds. In time, the foolishness of the Liadan must also be seen to, and they must be made to face reason or perish. Although no clan calls the barren lands of Saraline and Cairil home, we must also reclaim them to secure our own borders. And finally, the threat of Dunland must be addressed. Our wayward kin have sworn themselves fully to the White Wizard, preferring to seek vengeance for the crimes of the past rather than look to the future. Labelling us as weak-willed fools, they would rather die in battle than seek a peaceful reconciliation with us. Our only option, therefore, will be to defeat them in the battle they crave, and show them the proof of our conviction. We are confident, however, that many peaceful Dunlendings, ostracized on account of their forgiving nature, will join us if we establish our muster grounds in their lands. Once these threats have been dealt with, then shall we turn our attention to the future, whatever that may be. But the reclamation must come first. My Govan and Melonine, and well met indeed. I'm Adachir Galadirthan, head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer, and welcome back to the same as we start anew with the clans of Enedwaith. I do hope you enjoyed the little introduction. That was me talking through the 2 introductory messages of Enedwaith. I always will read out the messages because we have put the time in to write them, and so even if the only way you ever hear them is me reading them, then so be it. I want to at least give some attention to what has been written. So we're playing as Enedwaith. We're playing on very hard, very hard. I've opted to go for the short victory conditions because the only change in victory conditions is region number. We need 25. If you were playing long, it would be 40. You also only need to hold Alkfud. Much has changed about Enedwaith, as you might imagine. And as the introductory message made clear. But first of all, of course, I can't start a new campaign without telling you to read this message, because it has so much information that helps you. If you've never played Divide and Conquer, or you've never played Medieval 2, this will help you out. Remember, it no longer mentions the Barracks event, because the Barracks event was cut very successfully by the modding team, and that is no longer an issue. But do have a read through that every time you start the game. It helps massively. And then the 2 messages I just read through are the Clans of Enedwaith, which is that one, and then the secondary one, which is talking through the new script, the new clan script for Enedwaith. The old script has been done away with and completely gutted, and the new one has been set up. The only thing I didn't read is the regions that you require, because it's a bit dull for me to read through those. But the regions are listed there at the start of that message, and if you are going for the Enedwaith completion script, the regions are also listed in the green book at the bottom. It gives you the actual regions, which you find out by right-clicking on the campaign map there. So those are the regions that you need, but they are also listed in the clan moot, or the seat of the Mocháini, the clan moot, the main building here, which is our new fancy building. The seat of the Mocháini is a unique building that can be built in each clan's ancestral home, as we shall discover as we spread out around the world. I will talk through the script more in detail in just a moment, but first of all, let's see what we start with. So in Alkford, we've got 2 Mordag fishermen units who are they were the Grey Flood Raiders. The Grey Flood early tier javelin unit are now called Mordag fishermen, essentially. Enedwaith's still very much a javelin and indeed ranged heavy nation. We also get Mocháini Tauta, and they are our early tier aggressive sort of berserker unit. The Mocháini are our main primary clan. Their seat is Alkfud. Their leader, Chieftain Tramach, is now the Moot Speaker, which means he holds the ceremonial high position of Enedwaith. And it is from the seat of the Mocháini we also get the Mocháini Ambachstoi, one of our best looking units in my opinion, and one of our very, very powerful units, a good defensive line unit that we get straight away, which helps us immensely. Speaking of straight away, we start with 7,000 gold coins, but we only make 500 a turn at the moment. Obviously, as we spread out and begin reclaiming our lands, we will get more money, but at the moment, I think an economic building before we start training troops is going to be worthwhile, and to be honest, I think the port is our best bet. Note that our diplomat now comes from the clan Moot itself rather than the old clan. There was a clan seat building, but that's been renamed to the clan Moot. Enedwaith is a land of many clans, each with their own unique quirks. Some farmers, some fishers, hunters and warriors, and their origins are diverse, etc, etc. And then obviously at the bottom it tells you what you need to do. It also, if you read it in full, goes through... In fact, I just will. What the hell? And their origins are diverse, whether they date from the despoiling of the Great Forest the years after the last alliance, or even from the impacts of Wulf's conquest. When the situation calls for it, as it has often of late, the clans come together within the clan Moot to debate and decide upon a cause the clans should take together. Violence is forbidden within the hall, and those who break this rule without due justification will face the justice of the Dove Sheath, who often execute those who break this one precept. It is as close to a centre of government as the clans possess, and is guarded when not in use by the Mocháini. It is also here that the Speaker of the Moot, the individual elected to enact the will of the clan Moot, formally sits, regardless of their clan or origin. The hall itself is also said to have been constructed after the War of the Last Alliance as a replacement for the lost Tir Cracoil of Athamor, which served the same purpose prior to the despoiling of the Great Forest. I wanted to read that out because it tells you a little bit about the clans, which, as I say, I will go over in just a moment when we end the turn. But first of all, we've got those troops here. Moot Speaker Tramach no longer has the best unit possible. He only now has Mocháini and Ambachstoi. They are not that much of a late-game unit. They're a sort of mid to late-ish game, so he's no longer as good as he was. He doesn't have the Guardians. Note that the Mocháini are unique amongst Enedwaith for throwing axes instead of javelins. So their missile attack is an axe attack, not a javelin. If you think that's better or worse, do say. We do want that, and we do want a diplomat. And then we will get a couple more Mocháini. We also get Foul and Border Guards and more DaC fishermen there. And I will talk through it all in just a moment, as I say. Yes, but we'll pop Tramach back in, and we will send some more units to the fort as well, because they're free upkeep. To get out into the forts. Over in the fort in the west, I mentioned his name in the opening scroll, but many of you will probably not realise that it was a title, and that is Chieftain Donchaith. Chieftain Donchaith is the Dove Sheath Donaith, which means he is the chieftain of the Dove Sheath, and unfortunately it doesn't say there. It doesn't list that as a trait, which is disappointing. But the Dove Sheath are like the quasi-druidic order that we've put in Enedwaith, or rather Lord of Links has put in Enedwaith. So they are the ones who remember the burning of this land, the despoilment by the Númenóreans. They're the ones who really harbour that bitter grudge. But they also sort of lead the clans spiritually, if you will. And they now provide Dove Sheath Foresters, who are one of your best archer units. And they also provide the old unit that they used to provide, which is the War Chanters, although they're not called that anymore. But the War Chanters' abilities and uses have moved over to the Dove Sheath. Yes. They only come... Their clan seat is Erin Vaughan, so they're likely to be the last clan that you actually come across. Because, of course, Erin Vaughan is all the way up there, and you want to claim the lands around you first. So Chieftain Donchaith resides in the fort. He also starts as your faction heir, as you saw there, but do note that we are still a Teutonic faction. There is not a family tree. Some of you may be very disappointed in that, some of you may like that, but it does mean that Chieftain Donchaith is likely to remain Chieftain Donchaith for the entire game, because as you know, Teutonic tree is sometimes a bit busted, and normally the heir remains the heir forever, and whoever would have become the heir instead becomes the leader, and there's just no way to fix that. That's a core failing and flaw with the game itself. But anyway, we're going to end the turn because we're going to wait for those troops to train before we march out. And we want our diplomats so that we can go out and start spreading trade routes and trade agreements. The start in diplomacy is the same for Enedwaith as it was before. You have no allies and you have no enemies. Your victory conditions force you to attack absolutely no one. You just need 25 regions. But the script has been massively reworked to make it so that Dunland is almost always now your primary adversary. You can ally with Dunland, and if you manage to reclaim their regions, if they lost them, for example, so let's say Bree attacked and managed to take some of their regions and you took them back. If you build your barracks in their lands, you will get Dunlending units. But the best way to get Dunlending units is to defeat Dunland. And you also need to defeat Dunland to unite the clans. And let's talk about that while the end turn ticks past. So uniting the clans is now the core script for Enedwaith, and the old clan moot has been done away with completely. There is no longer an option at the end of your script path whether you want to join Saruman or not. That's completely done away with. The core concept now is that you must reclaim each general territory that is listed in that scroll at the beginning that I've showed you. And then thereafter you can read it in the Clan Moot or the Green Book of Alkford. Once you reclaim each individual region, some of them, like Harad and like Rune's reclamation scripts, will then give you a general. So once we retake, you saw it in the message at the start, once you retake Argon, for example, you'll get a free gifted general. But the primary reason to take each of the clan seats is to be able to train their late game units, because you need their core regions to train their late game units. Almost every clan has one early tier and one late tier unit. So the Mocháini, we can see already, have the Tauta and the Ambakstoi. And you need their core region to train their units. You can see that from the seat of Mocháini, we get the Tauta and the Ambakstoi. The early tier units for most of the clans train in the same way that Bree's script works. So that is to say that we can also at the moment get Mordag Fishermen and Fowland Border Guards, and they come from unique buildings rather than barracks buildings. So all the early tier units come from economic buildings. Mordag Fishermen coming from the Fishery, as we can see here. The Keefi Huntsmen, if we had the... oh, we have got them there, I just haven't added them. Keefi Huntsmen come from the inn, as you can see there. Fowland Border Guards are coming from land clearance. They all come from different economic buildings. And you don't get the barracks building, the Enedwaith barracks, you don't get that building until... well, you can build that building straight away, but you can't train the units from it until you've taken the clan seats. So, in very basic terms, this building, the Clan Moot Muster Ground, can be built anywhere. But it can only train late game units, and it can only train late game units from regions you have captured. I think that makes sense. You should hopefully have all got that. So at the moment, the only region we've got is Alkford, so the only unit that we would get in the barracks is the Mocháini Ambakstoi. But we can build that barracks anywhere. So if I capture Isengard at the moment, let's say I cheat move Tremak over here and just captured Isengard, I would be able to train Mocháini Ambakstoi in Isengard, and only then. Once I've captured the certain regions, say once we take Londare for example, we would then get the Leodan units added to that barracks as well. So that's the way that the script generally works. But what we're going to do first of all is send our diplomat out to Dunland. And, oh, there's Herat. We need Herat. That's one of the regions we need. We'll try and get trade rights up with them early doors, and then we can work on taking them out in a moment. But there's lots of rebel regions. Every region around us is now a rebel region, so we can focus on taking those. But we'll give it another end turn there, I think. These units will take one turn. So we'll end the turn twice more, and then we will move our army out. Now, each clan, not every clan gives you units. The exception to the rule, well, they do give a unit, but a specific unit, in order to get the boats that Enedwaith get, which are very good boats. Obviously, they're not as good as Dunedain or Elven boats, but they're good boats. In order to get the boats for Enedwaith, you need to capture Londangren. That's the only region that doesn't actually really give units. The only other region that doesn't is Baradvin and Suduri. Baradvin and Suduri don't have any clans associated with them, but not to take them as part of the reclamation I thought was odd, because you've got to take all the regions around Baradvin, so it'd be weird if you didn't need the middle one, and you have to cross past Suduri anyway, so I just thought it was worth adding that in. It is very worthwhile at this point stating profusely, and as much as I possibly can, that Lord of Links has done about 99.9% of the work to Enedwaith. Hummingbird has done all the changes to the units. Lynx has done basically everything else, and I did like 1% of the script setup. So this is entirely Lynx's essentially child, and it is fantastic. I'm so looking forward to playing this and getting it underway and getting it going. So that's generally Enedwaith in a nutshell. In terms of the battle elements, they are still very much the best javelin nation, and javelins and indeed skirmishing is a core concept of your battle plan. You've got the same amount of javelin troops that you had before, but you also now have a couple of extra axe throwing units, which you didn't have before. So for anyone who has fears that Enedwaith has been changed into just another generic, which is a complaint that I've seen, if they've been turned into another generic infantry faction, that is absolutely not true. They aren't infantry faction at all. Do we want to take all of them? No, I tell you what we'll do is we'll leave Tremak here because he gets free upkeep here. And he improves the costing there. I'm assuming we're going to lose money with this whole army together. Build me a watchtower, and what the hell, we've got the money, take the bandits. Yes, we lose 1,000 a turn. Right, we're going to take Karas first, which is down here in the forest. It's the next nearest region. You'll be very pleased to know that the only region that is technically in Enedwaith that you don't need is Bregnas, which is just here. And that's because Bregnas is taken by Isengard in the turn 1 auto expansion. And we don't want to force you to go to war with Isengard because that would make the campaign too restrictive and a touch too difficult, to be honest. Well, not necessarily too difficult, but it's... Dunland, we think, Lynx has very much redone the script to make it so that now, rather than you being neutral and going whoever after you want, Dunland is very much your primary enemy, and you need to take them out. And thereafter, you can do what you want after that. And that's the sort of core change to Enedwaith's gameplay, along with this reclamation. Now, of course, this reclamation system is... anyone who has played Divide and Conquer will know that both Harad and Rune use this system. But it fits so perfectly for Enedwaith. They're literally called the clans of Enedwaith. And it just works so wonderfully. And so I don't think it's a stretch to have 3 of our 27 factions start with a similar sort of concept. So that's we're going through with it. Now, do note that the voice lines for Enedwaith have not yet been changed. And we need to reach out to the gentleman who's voiced Enedwaith for us and ask if he would very kindly redo the voice lines. Because at the moment, they will all say their old names. So when I click on Mordag Fishermen in battle, for example, they're going to shout Grey Flood Raiders at me. So I apologise about that. But another thing that has been amended that many of you might have already noticed is campaign strategy models. The Elite Dwarf has reworked the Wildman strategy models completely from the ground up. The only one that's not yet been completed is the large city. We can't get the large city till we complete the script, but once we are able to build them, the large city campaign strategy model is just the Northman one. So that might... Yes, holy bugger, balls and biscuit tins. Isengard have taken Karas already. How did you get there that quickly? I've taken... Oh, right, no turns at all. Your orders, my lord. Oh, bugger it. Right, let's head out to Londangren then and get out of Isengard's way. Bugger. We're going to have to attack Isengard now to unite. That's a disappointment. But if we can take trade rights for now. And do you want my map information for, I don't know, 200? Just a small sum. Yeah, they took it. Who else should we go and talk to? Bree, definitely. Trade rights with the nearing nations are always, generally speaking, better, because trade with far nations can be disrupted, and thus you lose some of the income you would have received. Send those archers out. What else? Yes, so the campaign strategy models in the cities have been changed, but so also have the armies, as you might be able to see already. The old general model, which was the pike unit that Enedwaith used to have, where he was wearing like head to toe a fur sort of cape, and it looked really weird. That model has been changed to this model. So this is what your generals now look like, and this is what your captains look like. And I don't think Tremak has a unique model. Oh, yes, he does. Ever so slightly, you can see there's a bit of a difference in your faction leader. He has bare arms and chainmail on his chest. So does the general. But there are 3 unique strategy models for them all now. Yes, my lord. So they've all been updated and amended as well. So changes there. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I misclicked. Alkford built its port, which is fantastic. There's our unique Enedwaith port. Campaign strategy model there. You've also seen as well something that was added a while ago, but I've never played as Enedwaith since it was added, so I can discuss it now. Enedwaith, of course, get the unique fishery building. This is unique entirely to Enedwaith, and it can be built anywhere where the fishing resource resides, which looks like this, which looks like a small fishing village. Fishery, it provides a moderate trade resource. Anywhere where you find that resource, you can build a fishery, and it gives you really good economic bonuses. It's always a building you want to build. Always a building you want to build. Where's our map? Keep heading up to Bree. So, to run through the script, there's no real spoilers, but once we have united all of the lands under our banner of Enedwaith, we are then tasked with taking our old, or rather reforming our capital city of Tharbad. We've slightly tweaked the lore to suggest that the Dunedain city of Tharbad was actually built on the Enedwaith capital called Athamor. Much in the same way that the Romans would have built Roman cities on top of pre-existing Britain cities when they came to Britain, for example, such as Londinium, which was already, of course, already there, and the Romans just built on top of it. A common feature of invading nations. So Athamor was the old capital of Enedwaith, and it sat quite soundly in the middle of what was a large region of Enedwaith. In modern times, of course, some 6,000-ish or 5-ish thousand years later, since the Dunedain came and built Tharbad, Enedwaith is now defined as the land south of the Gwathlo, but in times gone by, it also was the land north of the Gwathlo. Thus, Athamor was fairly central. Unfortunately, of course, it is no longer. Now, we are going to fight so that we can see all of our armies. Oh, no, they'll definitely besiege us. I'm just going to wait it out. No, we need the money. We're going in. We're going in.
Yes, my lord.
Once you have retaken Tharbad, you then need to build the ancient Enedwaith capital building, the Tir Crocoil, in Tharbad. Once you build the Tir Crocoil, there's a fun little feature which we'll see when it happens, and also you unlock your Uber units. These are 4 elite Enedwaith units that are designed to make it so that Enedwaith can keep up with every other nation in the late game. You get late game units that are as good as other nations' late game units, basically. But in order to do that, you need to unite all the clans and you need to capture Tharbad. And once you've done that, you get those units. You also then unlock the ability to upgrade your towns and cities. So until you've united the clans, you cannot upgrade beyond large town. It requires the full union of all the clans of Enedwaith to unite and muster to build great stone walls. Right, so the Dovesheath Elders are the old War Chanters unit. They are a good anti-cav unit, as you can see. They look like two-handed spears, but they are actually halberdiers. But because they have a spear, they don't have the armor-piercing trait, which other halberdier units do get. They are a very, very good unit, but remember there's only a few of them. So they can't assist all that well in battle. So we shouldn't really send them up first, to be honest. But what the hell, we will do. Right, you guys go in. We've only got 2 archer units. Now remember, Enedwaith never was, nor never will be, a fully fledged archer unit. Anduin are the archer wildmen, if you're into wildmen and into archers. Enedwaith are javelins and skirmishers. And the Mocháini and the Mordag are going to prove that to us now. As our army marches, I can show you them in a bit more detail. So the Kefi Huntsmen are our main archers now, our main early tier archers. And they, as you can see, have a very, very simple look. Much of your early tier is simple in design. They are designed to be peasants taking up arms. So our Mordag fishermen, there's no armour on that. They're just wearing what they would wear to go fishing, and they're going to wear those in battle. It's not until you get the more late game units like the Ambakstoi and the Dovesheath Foresters, for example, who start getting actual armour. The Ambakstoi, as it goes as well, are my favourite unit for the new Enedwaith. I like the colourful shields, I really like the armour. It's got a real crisp quality to it, and I also like that some of them have blue capes. I just think that's cool. You will note there, as you can see, our Dovesheath Foresters fire poison arrows, which should be at the top there, so they have the morale reducing arrow as well, which makes them quite a useful and nifty little unit. And you can see it working already. The bandits are shaken just by being hit with those arrows, which is nice. It's good to see it working in practice. We also, of course, have all these units at the back. So a little bit of a change to the early tier. The Mocháini Tauta are now our Berserker unit, and they don't have that like bedraggled and shaggy look that the Dunlending ones usually do. They look a bit more professional because the Mocháini are Mocháini are sort of the prim and proper nation. Then we get the Foul and Border Guards, who are the let's paint our bodies in with horrible colours. We won't even bother wearing shoes, and we'll just run at the enemy and just scare them into retreating. They are very much the ancient Celts of the Enedwaith faction, and they get a good second or late game unit as well, which is quite handy. But the actual border guards themselves are a good defensive unit, as you can see. 12 defense, 6 charge, 4 attack. They're good, solid spearmen. But you will note they have no armor. Their defense skill is purely defense skill and their shield. So that's an interesting little mix, actually, because their shield means that they're not that bad against archers, because a shield gives a very good bonus against archers. Well, you get the shield bonus when you're shot with arrows. But their defense skill being 7 means their armor-piercing units have no effect on Foulland border guards. So if you can get armor-piercing units to run into them, then always do try to do that, because it's a complete waste of the armor-piercing unit. So that's always a wise choice. Right, the gates are down. Our javelin troops are throwing at what they can. The bandits are currently taking the full brunt of that. But back here are the hunters, who are going to give us gyp, and so are those sellswords. So we don't want to throw everything just yet. So what we're going to do is, those of you that can still fire, please stop. Archers, we're going to move you over here. No. Yeah, actually, bugger. Woodland hunters are fantastic archers, and they are going to decimate our own archers. So what we need to do is push in as quickly as we can. Send the bandits up as well. War chanters, come and stand back, and allow yourselves to chant. Or you can stand there actually, and then we'll get you chanting. The war chanters as a base improve the morale of people around them. So they inspire nearby troops just by being in the game, and then chanting inspires still further. So they help to hugely improve the morale of your units. But they need to be near to the units for the effect to work. So it's not good keeping them all the way back there and letting them chant away. That won't do anything. You need to get them in and get them involved. But I think that's pretty much it, to be honest. That's a full overview of what Enedwaith can do under this new script. A full description of all the changes. Oh, we can't shoot them yet. And now we just get to see some of their units in action. Oh, they are flooding in there. Now remember, the Mocháini Tauta are, of course, armor-piercing. So these bandits are going to just melt away. They have a high attack stat anyway, and then they're up against a unit that's pretty damn rubbish. Now, a note on the names. I want to get that out of the way as well, if people are still here, still watching and listening along. The naming convention for Enedwaith has shifted very much to be Gaelic. Almost everything is now Gaelic. Even the names of the clans, I believe, come from, apart from the Mocháini, come from Gaelic words. The Tir Croicoil Costantoiri, which you're going to see later on, much later in the campaign, they're our most elite unit. They have a fully Gaelic name. The Tir Croicoil itself is a Gaelic name. Athamor is a Gaelic name. We've gone Gaelic, basically, for Enedwaith's naming convention, with one exception being the Mocháini. The Ambaxtoi and the Tauta are both Latin words. So it's a real mix of Rome invading the Celts, basically, is the theme to Enedwaith now. And we've done that for one reason, and one reason alone: variety. There are so many human nations in Middle-earth, and to call them all with Sindarin words, or even English words, just gets a bit boring. So, we've got Anglo-Saxon names for the Rohirrim and for the Dalesmen, although the Dalesmen have a bit of Slavic thrown in there as well. Those same names are then also applied to Dorwinian. Obviously, the Elves, many of them are in Sindarin, although the High Elves have a few Quenya names as well. Gondor and the Ardenaim, or Gondor and the Dunedain and Dol Amroth have Dunedain names or Sindarin names. The Ardenaim have Ardenaic names. So we didn't want just more generic English kind of names for the Wildmen. So where possible, we've jazzed it up with the Gaelic. Some people will take umbrage with that, I have no doubt. Because Tolkien doesn't mention Gaelic anywhere. Why would you use Gaelic? That's ridiculous. But I would ask you, what would you use to jazz it up? And I think Gaelic just fits really well. With the whole vibe of Enedwaith is very much the indigenous peoples who have been displaced time and time again by coming invaders. The Númenóreans famously they invaded isn't the word that they use, but they wrote the history book, so why would they use that? But the Númenóreans famously settled in Enedwaith when there was an entire forest here, and they deforested the lot to build their ships. That's something that almost every Lord of the Rings fan knows about Enedwaith, because it's the only thing we actually know about Enedwaith. That and that they were said to be a simple fisherfolk. So we've got simple fisherfolk invaded by a large empire who completely rape and spoil the land and then bugger off once there's no more use for it. They build great cities from which they rule over the locals who live in barbaric huts. Tell me how that does not sound identical to Romans invading basically anywhere in Northern Europe. And so that is why the theme has gone. You'll even note the Celtic symbol is now even... the Enedwaith symbol is based on the Celtic symbol or symbology. So that's very much the theme for Enedwaith. In terms of their names, though, they share the same name pool as Dunland and the Wild Men of Anduin, or the Men of Anduin. So the name pool will probably still be... Oh, actually, unless it's been changed, because names are done on a per faction basis. So they might have had some of the names adjusted, but I don't think they have. So the names are still something that yet to be done. Bugger, the sellswords are fighting us down the hill. But we've managed to decimate the enemy archers without... We've decimated the whole enemy army, in fact, without taking really any losses. This is brilliant. I'm sending our javelin troops around the back to try and get them involved. Particularly the Ambakstoi and their wonderful axes. Oh, we never got the Dove Sheath to chant, did we? One of the key changes is that the Dove Sheath have been returned to being men, but their voice at the moment is still that of a woman. So when you click on them, they speak to you with a feminine voice. When in fact they are once again men. Druids, in fact, as we say. Right, let's speed this up and just get it over with. We're just slogging up this hill. So, of course, in this campaign, my plan is absolutely to show off all of the features of Enedwaith, because that's the whole point of the channel, showing off Divide and Conquer. So, first of all, we're going to try and unite as many of the clans as we can, those that are safely covered by bandits, so we don't have to start any wars just yet. And then we will deal with Dunland in the hope that that doesn't maybe send Isengard against us just yet. But I'm sure it probably will, so we'll have to watch out for that. Oh, that was absolutely brutal.
Our men are in command of the city.
Is that the Mocháini? Yeah, let's get the axe throwers in there.
We will smash the enemy.
Come forward. Keepers! Nice! Point blank into the sellswords. More can you ask for? Right, this is over. The enemy have routed. Enedwaith have been across the board generally improved. That is absolutely a feature. Almost all of our units are now stronger than they were before, with the exception of the sort of early tier starting militia units. They are the same as they were before. But in the later game, like even the Ambakstoi, for example, are slightly better than the Moot Keepers that they were based on. Something that Enedwaith has completely lost access to, unless they still get the farmhand pikemen, is pikemen. Pikes are very much now Dunland's thing. Hummingbird's approach, one that we all agree with, and which is why it is always implemented. Chieftain Donkaith getting 204 kills himself there, which is pretty nice. Otherwise, fairly close between the Keefi Huntsman and the Mordag Fisherman. So you can see range still being very much a thing. And the Mocháini Tauta getting 137. That's fantastic. But something that Hummingbird and the team in general we like to do is give factions identities with their battle, with the way they fight, so that it doesn't feel like everyone is a clone of everyone else. So Enedwaith no longer have any pikes at all, apart from, as I say, possibly the farmhand pikemen. And they would need to capture and train some of Dunland's units in order to get pikes, because Dunland are now very much a pike-focused faction. And it's not that their whole roster is built around that unit, it's just that the units for... If a nation is a pike nation or a nation is a javelin nation, then you can bet that they'll have the best pikes and the best javelins in the biz. And that's something you should always be able to rely on when you take these places. So there we go, we've taken Lond Angren, and that's given us Foul and Border Guards at our capital. Oh, good. What we definitely want here is a moot hall, if we can. Oh, we now make money with the addition of Lond Angren. Lond Angren does not have a port. Something that was discussed that wasn't actually ever implemented, annoyingly, was we did discuss giving Lond Angren a port at the start of the game. Unless it had a port and I just lost it when we sacked the settlement, that's possibly a feature there, what may have happened. You can't actually retrain those, so there's no need. We can train the Foul and Border Guards straight away because they come from the land clearance, which this already has. But this is the seat of the Bersich, which gives us a longship, and the Bersich Dragon boat, which is Enedwaith's best boat. Now remember, it is better than generic human boats, but it's still worse than Gondor or the Dunedain and the Elven boats. But it just gives you something a little extra. But we're not going to hang around here, so we'll leave the bandits behind because they can get... No, they don't get free upkeep because they're bandits, aren't they? No, we don't want to leave the bandits behind. We should leave a unit of the Tautar behind because we have loads of them. Yes, it still likes us. And we'll lower the tax rate so we can upgrade this to a town when possible. We're not going to be able to build that anytime soon. Now, the most affluent settlement around, and the one that for Enedwaith it's advisable to try and get hold of as soon as you can, is Londare, but Londare has a huge garrison. The moral, or as I read in the earlier story, the clan named the Leodan hold Londare, and they have severed ties with the rest of Enedwaith and essentially decided to become isolationist and become an independent city-state, because they are the clan with the biggest city, the highest walls, and the best arms and armour that they managed to salvage from the ruins of Londare, because they've lived there for a long time. But that does mean that if you're able to capture Londare and train the Leodan, they give you some of your best units. The Leodan units are very, very powerful and quite defensive. The Bersich sail out. The port of Lond Angren is ours once again. Lost to bandits and other scum, the Bersich scattered to smaller far-flung enclaves, but now at last can return to their traditional home. Although they may have once betrayed the clans for the secrets of Numenorian shipcraft and aided in the despoiling of the Great Forest, they have since spent their every waking moment atoning for this act. With the reclamation of their clan seat, they can once again construct their famed dragon boats in service of the clan Moot, and will add to our coffers with their skill in trade. Furthermore, their chieftain's son, Ruskion, has also agreed to captain his family's personal warship himself, and will serve under us, transporting our troops and engaging the fleets of our foes. With this, we have come one step closer to reclaiming what we have lost. I am sending an emissary, and from that message, as you might have guessed, we gained a ship. The Bersich dragon boat under Admiral Ruskion. Just as bloody Isengard rock up, I could really do with getting an alliance with Isengard.
Yes.
Until we turn on Dunland, we do not want to stoke their ire. But they're definitely going to attack me, aren't they? You can see it in their eyes.
Your orders, my lord.
I can feel it in my bones. That's the most aggressive Isengard player I think I've ever seen. Are they at war with Rohan yet? Where's someone who we can look at? Dunland, Isengard, there it is. Oh, they don't have any enemies yet. Why haven't Rohan attacked them? That's so unheard of.
Yes,
Rohan are normally straight in there. Well, we're losing money with Isengard's army coming across. Let's move over and see if we can get Herod before Dunland do. It might be a bad idea. Time will tell.
Journey planned out.
Where's a port that you can go and besiege? Somewhere that's a rebel. There's a port there, but it's not a port yet. Edwin Vaughan doesn't have a port yet. In fact, no one does. Oh, Londare might. No, there we go. No port for Londare. Alright, don't attack me, Isengard. Please don't attack me. We're not ready to take you on. Isengard will sweep us away if they attack us this early. But we've got the javelins. No. Come on, Galley. We've got the javelins, and Isengard have no real counter to skirmishes because they get terrible cavalry and they get slow to fire archers. And they didn't attack on that turn. They didn't attack on that turn, everyone. Hostilities cease. Khand and Gondor have decided to call it a truce. That's interesting.
Yes, my lord.
Where is the nearest Bree town? Over there. You're not actually going to be able to get across at Tharbad, are you?
Without question.
Oh, you can just nip past.
Yes.
All right. Where did it show? Where did it show? Ah, Matraith.
Without question.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll go and talk to them. Get some trade on.
Tomorrow. Yes, my lord.
Head out.
Yes.
We need Herod before. Do we want the border guards or the Touter? Border guards or the Touter? We'll take the Touter. They're more aggressive. We need Herod before Dunland, and we could do with taking Barad Vind before Dunland. Unfortunately, one of the clans that we need is the town up here called Vile, and Dunland start the game with that. So, but then you need to take Dunland out anyway. I don't know why that really matters. Herod gives us access to the Keefi, I believe, which we can find out if we read their information, because it might say where their capital is. No, it doesn't mention it. To speak of the Keefi is to speak of the decline of Enedwaith itself. Once, according to legend, the Keefi were one of the ruling clans of Enedwaith in the time of the Great Forest. Then the Numenorians attacked. Seeing the clans as both kin to the distrusted second house of the Edine and subhuman men of the Shadow, they crushed them as insects, and the Great Forest came to ruin. The Keefi, once noble, fled their homes to the south and found refuge with their kin at the Druidine. Their emblem of a noble deer speaks of this faded glory. Now they are mere hunters and have taken up arms to defend the clans. Druidine Forest mentioned there. Do note that we do get a special link to the Druidine, but I can't actually remember what it is. But I'm fairly certain we have access to train their units, not as mercenaries. We can just train them But in order to do that, I think we need to take the region of Gund. But I can't quite remember how the Druidine have been woven into the narrative for Enedwaith, so you'll have to forgive me on that point. Also, as you can see from YouTube, this video, in celebration of this release, in celebration of this new campaign, has been an hour in length. Oh, and I didn't give the UI cards across to the rebels. Ugh, idiot. I can do that after the game, because it's just a copy and paste job. Yeah, I'll do that at the end of... so at the minute, all the rebels will be Roman peasants. As I say, that is a simple copy and paste job. You've only got to put up with that for another 23 minutes. And then in the next episode, I will have copied and pasted those where they need to go and fix that. Oh, Isengard buggered off. Perfect. Right, let's get our diplomat in to talk to Bree. Just trade rights for now. Fantastic. And will you pay me for my map info? We've only got 2 regions, so 400. Yes, thank you, Grep. Brilliant. And what did you give me? Please give me money. Oh, Mordag Fisherman. My lord. That's all right. Right, now you, what's your name? Scotaith. I'm going to cheat move him. If you've never watched me before, and this is the first time that you're here on Arachea Galadurathan's channel, I cheat move my diplomats all the time, because it's the only cheat I generally allow myself. That and to fix bugs, if I ever come across a bug that needs a cheat. Because it irks me how the diplomacy works in this game. Particularly because this is the last game in the series where they bothered with actual diplomatic agents. The very next game in the series, Empire Total War, did away with diplomats altogether. And just has a diplomacy screen. And that's how every single game thereafter works as well. Now I appreciate, from a very hardcore realistic approach, having an actual diplomat have to go and talk to the other team is real. But you wouldn't just have one diplomat, would you? You'd have an army of diplomats, and that's what the diplomatic screen represents. You'd already have someone in Isengard's court, so you just want to talk to them. Ah, brilliant. Rohan have attacked Isengard, so they might be interested. Yes! Yes! Yes. Will you also give me some money for that? Go on. I've got a new region since we last spoke. Oh, there we go. Right, Isengard won't trouble us anymore. That's what we want to do. Now, you may think, Gallo, you've made it way too easy on yourself, but I really want to show off the script, and losing to Isengard in the first 20 turns is not going to help us do that. But speaking of showing off the script, let's fight another battle. The castle of Heret, in the region of Heret-Shir, the defenders led by Captain Koinich, is what I'm going for. The O with the umlaut is probably pronounced differently. Now, these have got Leodan, Billman, and Spearman, so you're about to see 2 of the best defensive units for Enedwaith. This will be an interesting battle. Now, this one is a castle, the last one was a town, but I think they might share the same battle map. Can't quite remember. But the campaign strategy model there, as you saw, has also been amended. So the castles are all done, and all of the towns all the way up to city have been done. Ah, yes, indeed. This is what a castle looks like. The same layout as the town. For the wildmen. For the barbarian hordes. We need to smash down that gate, and we need to try and avoid the towers as much as possible, because they're going to murder us. So we'll send in a Tauta instead. Keepers! I woke up this morning, and there was a bird on my windowsill, and I looked over at it, and it was squeaking away, and I thought to myself, ah, what a bloody lovely day this is. And then I realised it weren't a bird at all, and in fact my alarm clock sounds like a bird, and it was a bit of shit on the window. Still do, nice way to start a day, innit? Nice way to start a day. That's how the Moonkeepers talk, in case you're wondering. Bugger, they're shooting us already. Bugger balls and biscuit tins. Right, you guys, let's go nice and wide, and let's move up to try and shut them down. We need to get them off the walls, and we need to do it sharpish. Toot sweet, toot sweet. Oh, bugger, their archers are on the walls. Keefi huntsmen firing at their own kin. What disgrace is this? Right, anyway, here are the Leodan, the defensive heavy forces of Enedwaith that come from Lond Dare. And I think Hummingbird has done a fan-bloody-tastic job in representing that unit is a heavily armoured unit, compared to, for example, that unit. You get an instant feel that the Leodan actually are in this for real. They haven't just been press-ganged into war, they have decided to go to war, and their military might resembles that. There are the Spearmen, Although they have a bit of a smaller shield, but when he actually holds it up, as you can see, it does cover a large chunk of his body. And then standing behind them, interesting that you get to see them this early, are Enedwaith guardsmen. I think that is because the garrisons of the surrounding towns need to be adjusted. This unit will not be in this garrison when you fight in later versions, because this is one of our elite late game units that we are not going to see for another probably 80 to 100 turns. But this is what the late game elite Enedwaith units now look like. Very, very elite, if you ask me, and they stand up well. And they are, of course, your best javelin units, Enedwaith guardsmen now. But as I say, they're not really supposed to be in this early tier garrison, and they're going to give us a lot of trouble. Primarily, they're not supposed to be here because that unit is supposed to represent the coming together and unification of Enedwaith, and we haven't done that yet. So they shouldn't exist yet. So it's disappointing that they do. We are taking so many losses at this wall. Come on, get me that gate knocked down.
Our men have done
Down
well.
it goes, down it goes, down it goes, down it goes. Right, all of you guys, run up this hill. We'll send the war chanters as well, what the hey. Get them involved. Javelin troops, cease and desist. And the archers can carry on.
Our soldiers have
No,
proved their
javelins
worth
do.
today.
Fire everything you can at these walls. Kill as many of them as possible. And then once you're done... Oh, they're running away. Oh, and so are they. Oh,
If we
fantastic.
continue like this,
Yeah, and
we
Backstow
will
don't have a very
smash
good range, do they? What is your range? 50 meters, Mordag 70. Yeah, there you go. I know I've already mentioned it twice and I sound like a massive broken record, but it really annoyed me that someone, before even playing Enedwaith, complained that we've changed them into an infantry faction. Because it's just so incorrect. And to say it before you've even played the game is just baffling to me. Enedwaith are still fantastic Javelineers. They have the best Javelin units in the game. They have more Javelin units in their roster than any other nation in the game. So you're never going to run out of Javelin troops. They are absolutely fantastic at being Javelin troops. And to top it all off, they've even had a couple of axe throwers added to their roster as well. So they've got even more options available to them. And yet people still scream they've been changed too much. Madness. Madness. Right, they're going around the side. Archers, you're going around the side. You did actually come through the door, didn't you? Right, let's run them up the hill. Pathfinding in cities is just atrocious. Even in this kind of city where it's actually... this is a base game settlement layout. This is not a modded layout. This layout comes from... either from Med 2 or from Rome. So, and they use the same engine if you are interested. Something some of you may not know. If you can mod Med 2, you can mod Rome 1 as well. They are identical, which is why Roman peasants are used as the UI for when there is no present UI, because when they came to create Med 2, they just used the same preset missing UI icon and didn't bother changing it, and so Roman peasants make their way into Med 2. I just think that's quite interesting. Also, many of you will have seen, if you don't set up the UI for a building properly, the default building UI is a Roman barracks. And I just think I find that really interesting. I don't know why I find that so interesting, but I find it interesting. Alright, get them in. You guys have stopped, so cease and desist and start chanting away to give everyone else a bit more of a pep in their step. We're taking down the Leodan, we've got them routing. Now the guardsmen won't go down so easily. There's 110 of them. They're standing there with their tool shields. I'm really rather disappointed actually that we've seen the guardsmen so early. It loses some of its magic when you see your late game units on the 10th turn of the game. It's the very reason why Tremak does not have late game units as his bodyguard, so that you don't see them straight away. Oh, fantastic. What's the damage on your axes? 9 versus the 7 of those Mordag. But the Mordag, remember, have more javelins. We only get 2 axes each, and we have less range, but our axe is high. Oh, and so is theirs. No, the Mordags are better in every aspect. The Mocháini and Backstow having an axe is a secondary nod to their axe-focused gameplay. Now, the only thing I would ask to add, and I will probably message Hummingbird hereafter and ask, is that any unit in the Enedwaith roster that has a shield, I'd very much like them to have their clan's icon represented on their shield. Because something that you probably won't actually get to see throughout the campaign, because it's not really featured anywhere, is that Lord of Links wrote painstakingly wrote backstories to every clan, and not only did he write backstories, he also created symbols for them, or he at least suggested symbols for every clan. And you got a moment of that. You got a feel of that a moment ago when we read the Kefi story, and it says at the end that the emblem of a noble deer speaks of this faded glory. Because the Kefi's icon is a deer. And similarly, the Mocháini icon is 2 crossed axes. And I was really rather hoping we would get those visuals present on our units. So something I think I would ask Hummingbird to maybe do is any unit that has a shield to have its icon represented. Like the Fowlin, for example, will have a shield, so they can have it on theirs. Now, if the unit doesn't have a shield, you're not just going to emblazon the icon on your clothes, are you? If you're a fisherman, you're not going to think, I really, really like my country, so I'm going to put my country's emblem, I'm going to paint it onto my, or sew it onto my general day clothes. Of course you're not going to do that. But the late game units, maybe they could possibly get some sort of visual representation. Right, we've captured 99 of them. We've killed 60% of them. 30% of us have died to do so. We've got all of our units facing the Tauta here. But it's not the Tauta that we fear, it's the guardsmen behind. And those guardsmen are going to give us jit. The Billmen as well. Billmen are, of course, halberdiers, so they are armor-piercing. Are the Mocháini armor-piercing? Yes, they are. So the armor-piercing is negated in both of those units. Let's speed this up as the battle is going to be a bit of a slog here as we slowly fight our way up that main channel.
Enemy are badly bloodied. They have lost half their men.
Something as well we've already seen in the Dol Amroth campaign, but the faction, any general who has an ability, the ability now tells you what it does in the battle. And abilities, the rework for the abilities hasn't actually happened yet. Iron Fist is the only one that's had it, and it just so happens that both of the generals in the Enedwaith campaign start with Iron Fist as their ability. But Iron Fist, none of the abilities have negative effects anymore. So Iron Fist permanently reduces your army's fatigue. So if people are winded, for example, or if they're exhausted, they'll jump up to winded, which is the earlier tier. So it just enlivens your army. And it also gives everyone, for 30 seconds, I think, we all fight better. We've taken away negative effects from any of the abilities because it's just not worthwhile having negative effects on battle abilities. These foresters have done very, very well. You will note, if you're looking closely, the foresters do all have paint, war paint as well, which is pretty cool. They're a really good unit, but we've got to get so far up the coasts to Erin Vaughan to get them. It's going to take a while. Enedwaith still, of course, do have a very grey and brown kind of palette in the earlier stages, but as they get as they improve and the late game kicks in, you will start to see more reds and greens afflicted amongst their number. But it is impossible to represent a sort of wild men faction without them having, generally speaking, leather colouring. Because whilst they might paint their bodies with different colours, dyes and things like that, not everyone's going to be in fantastic coloured dyes. So we reflect that in the game, and they do still have a fairly brown palette. I shan't lie to you about that, but I really don't think that matters. You're going up against all these other colourful nations. There's so many nations in the game. Someone has to have brown as their main colour, and it's just Enedwaith have taken that. If you have any questions about Enedwaith at all, please do post them either today on this video, or there'll be a second Enedwaith video, and then this weekend, 11 o'clock in the morning GMT, I will live stream the 3rd episode of Enedwaith. So if you've got any questions at all, either post them in the comments or save them up for the live stream on Saturday when you can see, when you can ask me live. But I assume many of you will have questions. One of the questions I'll try and preempt is the ring script. Enedwaith are now considered good for the ring script. There is no longer a... I don't think the script has been amended or changed. I believe it's just been cut and they've been simplified. So... Oh, we just lost all the backstory. We have no longer got any ranged units. So Enedwaith are now... Oh, you can go back to chanting, actually. Enedwaith are just considered good, as I say. So... no, all of you can go for those. If you play as Enedwaith and you capture the ring, your options will be to take it back and destroy it. Now, we lost all our backstory, but we almost killed all the hunters. But now we've got to take on these guardsmen. And hopefully sending in our Tauta first will help. The armor piercing should do wonders. They're a spear unit as well, so they're not that great at killing people. They're good at holding a line. So they'll probably hold for a while, but they might not take any people with them. That's what we've got to hope for. Get them to move up.
Our men have slain the enemy
Ah,
general.
yes, the enemy general died.
His troops will lose their will to fight.
Alright, go in there. War chanters. Yep, continue chanting away, please. Send in the rest of the Mordag. Bring down the Dove Sheath. It might help to just have the general nearby. Quenich has gone.
If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
Oh, we can hear them chanting. And they are dying a death. Fantastisch. Fantastisch. Heret is ours, which means Dunland will be held in check. Now, Dunland will not attack us just yet for fear of risking the ire of their overlords, because Dunland and Isengard, of course, start allied. And we don't want to ally with Dunland, we absolutely don't, because we need to kill them. So we don't want to have to risk allying them now, only to kill them later on. But we'll definitely ally Isengard to keep them off our backs, which we have already done.
By the victory we have won
Fantastic.
here today.
158 Keefi Huntsmen. 124 Dovesheath Foresters. And then 102 and 100 Mordag Fishermen Mocháini Tauta. I can't remember what Tauta means, and I can't remember what our backstory means. I think one of them means... No, I can't even guess. I can't remember. I just can't remember. And now I'm yawning. Oh dear. I'm yawning in a recording. Terrible form. Terrible. But with that, Heret is ours, and Lond Angren is ours. Fantastic.
Honorable, glorious
We'll just occupy it. They have our culture, so they won't hate us.
Conquest.
I mean, they'll hate us for a touch, because there's a bit of Northmen in there, but generally they've got our culture. Oh, we can build a way station here. Ah, yes, and I wanted to talk about a way station, so this is a prime opportunity. Way stations are the building that have been added that allow you to retrain any AOR unit in any castle anywhere in the world, with one exception. Note that the way station will not retrain units from the region that they come from, not just the singular province. So, in Medieval 2, a region is a region. Enedwaith is a region. Minhiriath is a region, for example. The Shire, Gondor, these are regions. The province is the individual place. Here we have Heretshire, and here we have Lugiu, and here we have Cairil, etc. Now, the way station will not train any units from the whole region. And the example I've given is thus. For example, Fountain Guard come from Minas Tirith, but you cannot retrain them anywhere in East Gondor, because Gondor's broken down into East and West. And that applies across the board, and then it tells you the various world regions there. So if you're building the way station to retrain an AOR unit, and you're wondering, why can't I retrain Fountain Guard? I've built my way station, for example, let's say you built it in this region. Well, why would you? It's right next to Minas Tirith. But let's say you did. You can't retrain your Fountain Guard there. Now that is a consideration of that is essentially a fix to ensure that the script for that building, it doesn't actually have any script, but for the code for that building is not ridiculously long and thus prone to breaking, and also so that we don't inadvertently make it so that you can train units twice as fast as you're supposed to be able to. That's why it does that.
Yes.
But I just wanted to say at least once verbally to you all, so that it's documented somewhere. Right, with Heret taken, we will end the turn, and then we'll send our army north to go for Barad Vin. But we've got the fishermen who can come over and join you. We'll leave the border guards because they're free upkeep already, so you can all join with Doncaith, sorry, and then you'll get those fishermen, and we'll go for Barad Vin next. Enedwaith and Isengard. Yeah, I'm aware of that alliance. I brokered it. Look at Londare, look at that garrison. That's ridiculous. Privateer Cav, Mordag Fisherman, Leodan Beerman Spearman. Mighty army. And annoyingly, we can't even blockade their port because they haven't even built a port yet. Bloody infuriating. But we'll end the turn and we'll read the message that pops for the Heret, the Keefi clan, and then I will end episode number 1. And then I will go and record whatever I'm going to put over the backdrop at the start of this video. Because at the time of recording this, all I've done is record the voice lines for the intro to this video. I haven't actually recorded whatever visuals I let you all see, so I don't even know what I'm going to do yet. Oh, a Hunter's Guild now foot. I'll take that, but we can't build it yet. The Fowlen charge again. Ah, it's the Fowlen that come from here, not the Keefi. I thought it was the other way around. Once again does the banner of the Fowlen fly high atop the hilled castle of Heret. With those who held it driven out, the castle now stands once again guarding the eastern borders of our lands against our warlike kin in Dunland. Once part of Dunland, they joined us when Wolf consolidated many of the Dunlending clans into a single nation that better resembled what he had learnt in his youth in Rohan. Faced with this, they turned cloak to us to reserve their culture. The Fowlen are overjoyed with this reclamation. They can resume their raids into Dunland and prove their name as the Wolves of Enedwaith. In fact, their leader, Melmedoch, has been so impressed with our efforts that he has pledged to leave the day-to-day governing of his clan to another and join us personally to render military aid as a general. Furthermore, the reclamation of their clan seat will also allow us to marshal Fowlen warriors from their mustering grounds of the clan Moot. Our foes should long remember this day, for it marks the day when the Fowlen once again take up their famed two-handed swords in service to the clan Moot and will once again charge into battle to deal death. Fantastic. And there he is,
Yes, my lord.
Melmedoch, joining us with Fowlen warriors who come with the special weapon that comes from Dalmatia. It's going to come to me. A falx. They have a falx rather than a two-handed sword. I think they're about the only unit in the game that has one. And it looks damned cool. And you can get to work straight away, me old boy. Build me a tower. Don Kaith will join you. Those warriors will join you. And we'll take for Baradvin. So, Fowlen warriors coming, as you can see there, and ideally, and hopefully the script is updated, and now Fowlen warriors are added to the Clan Moot muster ground. Perfect. So as I say, as you reclaim each region, the barracks then lets you train those units. So if I wanted to build the Enedwaith barracks, you'll note that I can't build it just yet because I need a Moot Hall, which is the town hall. If I built the Moot Hall, I would then be able to build a barracks, which would mean I'd get Fowlen warriors here in Alkford. The lower tier units will always come from the economic buildings. They are never added to the barracks. So the barracks, all of the actual barracks units are your best units. The ones you definitely want to try and get if you can. And we've actually made some money now. Alkford is somewhere we definitely want to keep improving. And ideally we do want that port, but you're never going to get that. So build a carpenter's hut, and over here build a carpenter's hut. Let's get you rushed and ready for that.
Yes, my lord.
Melmedoch has those cool warriors. Oh, this is so much fun. I'm so pleased you get a unit each time you take a clan. I was hoping that would be the case, and it certainly has been. We might be able to go about this without attacking Isengard as well. We might be able to actually buy Karas from them if we're lucky enough. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, that's the end of episode number 1. I do hope you have enjoyed watching this episode, and I do hope you will enjoy watching Enedwaith's clans unite and form into a grand army. And if you have any questions, as I say, post them, or you can hold off and wait for the live stream on Saturday. But otherwise, until we speak again, dear friends, Navair Neden Pedemad Melunin, and farewell.